All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate everyone being here. Another beautiful evening. Right? So, this is a beautiful evening. Like I said, we relax into the creation series tonight due to the fact that we are relaunching and that we are continuing, of course, in the creation series. We're going to go ahead and actually do a recap. Okay, so I'm going to walk through everything that we've already talked about. I'm gonna walk through some things in the future as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, and just to give you a recap of everything that we've went over, the things that we're doing, and what's been done in the creation series. If you've missed any of the creation series, you can go to our Patreon, join our Getting High with Dawid tier or above, and that will allow you to be able to see all of the past creation series. I'm not going to go in detail in each one of these. If anybody has any questions while I'm going through it, you are welcome to ask your questions and stop me in the midst of it, of course, as always. But I want to be very clear. We're just going to go through and recap everything that we went through in the creation series. And this might be a short class or it could be long, depending on if any questions come through. So, first things first, our first class was who and what is Yahweh, right? What Yahweh, who and what is Yahweh. And in this class, we found out that Yahweh is the divine universal force, the being, the whole. So we found out that it's everything as one whole is Yahweh. And we did that, we proved that, we went through that with scriptures. And another key thing that we went over, and this is extremely important, and you have to get this locked into your head because we have to move from religion into into spirituality. We have to go beyond religion. Religion was designed purposefully, right? It is the teaching that spirituality is blasphemy. It's the first thing that you're going to notice about religion, because religion is about control. The actual Bible is not a religious book. When you really understand and you grasp that concept, you will be able to look at the Bible from a different aspect. And as we stated before, the Bible, the word holy means healthy. When you do the etymology, it's going to lead you all the way back to healthy. So really, it's the books, because Bible means books. It's the books of health, or the health Bible is what it should be called. And when you start reading the scriptures from a health aspect, spiritual, mental, and physical health, when you read it from that concept and from that dynamic and that idea and that understanding, you're going to really begin to start understanding the scriptures and why it's important to follow the divine universal laws. It's extremely important because it's going to bring you back to full health. It's going to clear you and bring you back into your full health. It's extremely powerful. So, religion was man made, spirituality was made by the divine universal forces, or in other words, the consciousness that was developed by all beings' consciousness on the planet, right? That's why the scripture says that which has been is now, and there's no new thing under the sun. Why? Because you've been here for trillions of years in different forms until we were able to create what? The human form. Till the Elohim created the human form. And once that form was created, then we were able to breathe, or the breath of life was able to be breathed into Adam, right? The Elohim could breathe into Adam the breath of life. And in that breath of life being Adam being breathed into it, what was being breathed into it? The spirit of all the divine universal whole, which we all share. All living creatures breathe it in, right? So again, that is very important. Religion is the teaching that spirituality is blasphemy, and its purpose is to silence the key witnesses. That's its purpose. That is the purpose of religion, to bind the strong man and woman. That's its purpose. And once you learn that, you're going to move from religion and religious ideas and connotations into spirituality, right? And you're going to get that. So that's extremely powerful. So again, when it comes to the sharing, you can always come back and rewatch any portion of the series that you missed once you join our Patreon. Again, if you have any questions during the program, please place it in the live chat or comment area. Please do so. And I'm like I said, as I go through this recap, I'm going to be going back through things. So if you have any questions, please ask them during it, because this might have been something you forgot or something you didn't understand that you need more clarity on, which would be extremely powerful. And if you're watching the replay, you can always, on the replay, leave questions in the comment areas as well, because I go back through them. And if there's any questions or anything like that, you can always leave those questions for me and I will answer them. If you have a question after the program is over, please leave your questions in the comments, as I stated. And if you want to join our group on there's no Facebook group anymore, so you can join us on our Patreon, patreon.com/health class. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/health class. All one word, no spaces. All right. So again, like we said, I stated in the beginning, I dealt with Yahuwah and what is Yahuwah. We dealt with that. I'm not going to delve deep into that right now. I already did the class. So if you have want to go back and rewatch that, that's going to be powerful. All right. And we also proved that I think we did that in the Power of the Woman. So I'll deal with that then. But we dealt with Yahuwah being masculine and feminine, which was powerful. But I wanted you to understand that being was the key to this word. Okay? Being, whole being. That's why that name is so relevant. Because the reason the name is so relevant is because it only means being, that which is in whole. It's the truth. That is Yahuwah. Everything in the universe is Yahuwah, which means it's being, that which is. That's all it means. And when you understand that concept, when you get that concept, now you can really understand when we go to the next portion of this, which is going to be who are we, right? And in this who are we section, this is extremely important, because when you're creating, you have to realize who and what you are in order to be able to create. You cannot create from a place of inferiority. You can't create from a place of less than, right? And this is where people try to get you into, and I consider all of that religion. I don't care if it's a job, I don't care what it is. When there's a hierarchy, you're dealing with religion. I don't care what it is. You can call it whatever you want to. It doesn't matter. Government, all of it. That's all that's a religious connotation. Right? So hierarchies, and there's nothing wrong with having systems in place with different programs, and people are in those different places. Don't get me wrong. You need a manager at times. You need this, yes. But is the manager better than the employee? Is the king greater than the people? Are the leaders greater than the people? Anytime that happens, that's religious. Everyone is equal. Everyone. No one is better than you. No one is greater than you. Nobody. I don't care what nobody tells you. I don't care what nobody says. No one is greater than you. Why? Because when we dealt with who are we, what did we find? We found out that what? We are Elohim. We are gods. Right? And we found that first in Genesis 1:26. Elohim said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. So if you're in the image and likeness of Elohim, or God, as they say, then what are you? Well, let's make it real plain. We're going to make it real plain tonight. Psalms 82 lets us know what? Elohim standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the Elohim. Right? Then he says what? I have said, ye are Elohim, and all of you are children of the Most High. right? So you are Elohim. You are gods. All of us, not some, not the leaders, not the, no, all. I have said, ye are Elohim, and all of you are the children of the Most High. That's a conjunction. So you are Elohim. So there's nothing above you. That really was the lesson of Job. When you understand Job, the book of Job for real, that was the lesson of Job. But you have to really take this on. You have to really understand this concept in order for you to be able to go to your next level of development of creation. Because if you cannot realize that you have that level of power, you will not create purposefully in your life. Because you're always creating. You're always creating. You're either creating accidentally or you're creating purposefully. That's why I love Charlemagne the God. When he says that, I know he at least got that understanding. He understands that. And if you missed this class, go back and watch it. It's in the Patreon. Again, you have to subscribe to the tier of the what you call it, or above, the Getting High with Dawid or above. And the powerful thing about this is I was given the creation series. I didn't write the creation series. This was given to me by Yahweh. I was learning. When I first taught this class, I was learning the creation series. That's deep. You feel what I'm saying? Like, imagine teaching and learning at the same time. So I want you to be very clear, like, for real. So again, it states here, and the reason I put this in Ivrit or Hebrew is it says song to Asaph Elohim in the it standeth. That's like he will stand. Elohim will stand in the congregation of El, right? In the midst of Elohim, he will judge. And then I went to 82 and 6. I have said, or I said, Elohim, you are. Elohim, you are. So notice it's all capital. They made it little GODS. They did that because they want you to feel like there's a greater and lesser. There is no greater and lesser. That is a religious construct. Like I said, I don't care if you're in church. I don't care if you're in the politics. I don't care if it's a job. When there's greater and lesser people, that is religious ideology. That is not scriptural ideology. That's not spiritual. It says, I have said, Elohim, you are. That's why it says, do not be a respecter of persons. In other words, if a person got a high position, you respect people equally. But it's saying don't respect them greater than you respect somebody else. That's against the law. You cannot do that. That's against the divine universal laws. You cannot do that. Because it was never meant for that. The greatest in the kingdom is the servant. That's the key, right? So I said, Elohim, you are, and sons of the causer of ascension. That's what that's really saying. Not the most. That don't mean the Most High. This is the causer. This is a causative form of ascending. When you see the own on the end, right? This is the causative form. So this is like not the Most High, like they're saying, but you are the sons of the cause, the one that, or that which causes ascension. All of you are. That's what that's saying. Then it says, so that was the lesson. You are Elohim. You have to know that. First, you had to know what Elohim was, what Yahweh was, the divine universal whole. Because when you understand that Yahweh is the divine universal whole, now you know when you touch the grass, when you hurt somebody, when you do it, you're hurting Yahweh, or what you call God. That's what most people don't understand. When you kill an ant, you're killing God. When you hurt, whatever you do, everything you do is how you're treating God. Everything. There is nothing that escapes that. Nothing. So when you pollute the air, you're trying to kill God. That's your goal. The water, the sea, all of that. It's very important to get. Right? When it comes to creation, when it comes to creating, you have to really understand this. So now when we come to you are Elohim, now you have the power to create. There is no excuses, reasons, or explanations. What's too hard for God or Elohim? What's too hard for him? Please put it in the chat if you know something too hard for Elohim or too hard for God. Tell me that. And we also learned that it should be God's, not God. So if you notice here, it said what? God or Elohim standeth in the congregation of El. This should read God's standeth in the congregation, not God, singular. It should not read that way. This is a plural word. It's the same word here for God's as it is here for God. So why did they put God here and God's there? Why? Why did they put it there? Why would you do that? Because they want you to believe you're not. They want you not to believe that you have the power to be great. That's why. It's a religious ass connotation. They turn this into religion. But it wasn't religious. It was spiritual. They wanted to have authority over you. Right? That is ego. That's what the wicked do. The righteous will never do that. The righteous will want you to be the greatest you can be. But the wicked, they always want authority over you. Now, creation said we went through the power of the man, right? So when we went through the power of the man, we went through you are a power to get the understanding, again, that you are Elohim, right? The man, right? And there was a lot in this, so I'll deal with this. I mean, you have to go back through and watch this, right? You know, your seed is your power, meaning man, don't spill your seed. Just as important as the woman is with carrying those babies, you're carrying this seed. So your body needs to be healthy. You need to be healthy to be able to have perfect seed to put into the woman, for her to carry it for those 9 months. But you carry seed your whole life. You got to be cognizant of that. Most men are not. That's why they can just leave their children and this. You can't leave your children. You can't know. Those are your babies. Also, you got to be a man. You feel what I'm saying? And that is real. That's no joke. It's not a game. That's a real thing that you have to really be to really get that concept. But your seed is you got to be, you have to really take care of yourself and respect that. That's why when we do the meditation, when we do the meditation and we do the body meditation, right? We're taking that root chakra and raising it to the crown. Why? Because we want to create a divinity in the root chakra. Because if the root chakra, which is the lowest part of you, is at the highest level, you understand what I'm saying? Now then these levels are even higher. So if you can get that root chakra, which is what's causing the problem a lot of times in individuals, right? If you can get that root chakra into where it should be, where it's vibrating at the crown chakra level, you understand what I'm saying? Now you have complete control over your spirit. And now you can really magnify your seed. And now when you have children, that seed is going to reflect what you put in your body. That seed is going to reflect what you've, holding your sperm, not just having sex with all different types of women, right? That seed is going to reflect your consciousness, right? Your another level of intelligence and wisdom. But remember, the seed that you're putting into that woman, it has a life of its own. It's been here since the beginning of time. It's really our grandparents and great-grandparents just coming back through. That's all it is. And we'll deal with that I'm going to deal with that in another class. That's probably going to be in a mental health class on the rights of children. The true rights of children. Because we steal their rights. We steal their rights to be the greatest them that they can be. We steal that from them. I'm going to show you that in a class. But we're talking about creating right now. All right. So more precious than gold. Man, it says I will make a man more precious than fine gold. Even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Right. And this is a dime right here. Okay. I'm going to keep going. The power of self-worth. And this is a virtuous man. The first 9 verses of Proverbs 31 is a virtuous man. Most people don't know that. Right? This is a portion, because there's another one called Sirach, I believe, and it's talking about a virtuous man as well. But this right here is a virtuous man. Right? Very important. Written by a woman. Or given to King Lemuel, who wrote it, by a woman. And it's extremely powerful. I love this scripture, right? Because it's going to tell you what perverts a man from being right. And if you look at men, when you read this, you're going to understand, strong drink perverts them. Giving their strength to women perverts them. And it's very important, because if you can keep your sons from these two things, that don't mean a good woman, get a good woman, a virtuous woman. That's why it comes after this. But you want to have a virtuous man and a virtuous woman coming together. In other words, marriage, when I deal with relationships, which I'm going to deal with in the creation series, in order for you to truly be ready for a relationship, you have to be whole. And this is where the problem comes in. We come together unwhole. You're looking for a man or a woman to make you whole. They cannot. A man and a woman do not make each other whole. The man has to be whole and the woman have to be whole in order to come together to be whole. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're looking for something in a man, or the man is looking for something in a woman to make themselves whole, that's not going to work. This is why relationships are destroyed. Why? Because you're abusing that person now. Now you're abusing them. Why? Because now you're taking from them. That is ego. You're stealing from them. You have to be whole and they have to be whole, for when you come together, now you have a true union. You both are already happy. You both are already whole. You both know who you are. You both know your purpose on this planet. And you're coming together to further that. Not to come together to try to learn it. You'll kill each other trying to learn this and that about yourself. You got to know who you are before you come and get married. or before y'all come together and, yeah, get married. Because that's the only way you should be coming together. So that's why I'm saying, like, this is important. So you have to become a virtuous man before you even start looking for a woman. And a woman must become a virtuous woman before she even starts looking for a man. All that boyfriend, girlfriend stuff is cute, but it caused what you see today. The institution of family is the most important. The institution of family is the most important institution on the planet. There is nothing more important than the institution of family. When you come together, like it says, you are to create holy or healthy seed, children. That is the goal. So to do that, you have to be spiritually healthy, mentally healthy, and physically healthy. The man has to be that, and the woman has to be that, to come together to create a spiritually, mentally, and physically healthy child. Period. You can't play with that. But because our root chakra has not risen to our crown chakra and we're not working on it, right? Or have not built to that point, because it's not, now we just creating anything. We creating monsters and beasts on this planet. Why? Because we're monsters and beasts instead of being whole. You got what I'm saying? So I want you to be clear on that. So you have to clear. That's why the clearing meditation. Everything has its place to create perfection. Scripture says, what? Walk before me and be thou what? Perfect. If it was if you couldn't be perfect, it wouldn't be there. If we want to go through the scriptures, Abraham was told that. Noah was perfect in his generations. Job was perfect, upright, one that feareth Elohim and eschew of evil. And Elizabeth, if you want to go to the New Testament, Elizabeth and her husband, they were perfect according to the New Testament. So don't come around telling me you can't be perfect. Nobody can be perfect. Only God is perfect. You are Elohim. So you are God. So what are you saying? See how they try to lie? See them lies and deceits? That's religion. Scripture don't say nobody can be perfect. That's not biblical. That's not spiritual. That don't exist in the scriptures. Nowhere. So how did that become what you consider spiritual? Nobody can be perfect. That's religious. That's a religious connotation. Lowered expectations. That's religion. There is no excuse, reason, or explanation. Religion taught you that it's okay. A little white lie is okay. That's not righteousness. That's not scripture. That's not holy. That's not healthy. That's sick. Right? That's sick. Isn't it? Just be real. That's sick, ain't it? That's like the sickest thing. There's so many comments that are so sick, it's ridiculous. And that's why nobody's healthy. That's why everybody's running around sick. Spiritually sick, mentally sick, or physically sick. Or all three. Because they've been locked into a religious connotation. Break free. You are free. For real. Now, let's go to the next thing. We dealt with that. Now, arise, O Elohim. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do. You got to arise. You've fallen. Why did you fall? Because we fell for religion. We fell for that. We fell for those concepts. That's why I always say the Bible is not religious, it's spiritual. Religion was man-made. Literally. That's why people be quoting stuff from the scripture like that ain't in the Bible. I know it. Like, show it to me. Let's go to the concordance. Let's look it up. You ain't gonna find it. Why? Because it's a religious connotation. It's religious. It don't even exist in the Bible. It ain't even there. They just lying. And it's not their fault. They've been lied to. We can go through Apocrypha. We can go through all the books. It's not there. Right? So I'm letting you know, like, for real. Yes, they taught you that you couldn't be perfect. That's a lie. Scripture tells you to be perfect. That's a commandment. In Deuteronomy, that's a commandment. Like thou shalt not steal. It's a commandment. Be perfect. That's deep, ain't it? We just been lied to. And like I said, even if you want to go to the New Testament, Elizabeth and her husband, it says they were perfect, walking in the law perfectly. Perfectly. This is what you got to be. Why? Because you are Elohim. There's nothing too hard for you. We've been brainwashed into believing that we're weak. That's it. You have so much power. You have so much power. You don't even realize what you can do, but you will by the end of this. By the time we're done with the creation series, you're going to know how much power you really have. You could change everything in your life. Everything. Everything that's showing up is you in your space. Everything. There's nothing that doesn't show up that's not you. Now you have to go inside and find where that lives and release it. Everything. Everything that has happened, everything that is happening, and everything that will happen is a figment of your imagination from this lifetime or a previous one. You got to clear all the way back. Telling you. Now, Power of the Man Session 2, I went through the man's purpose, why he's on the planet, and that was simple. To guard to guard the garden. In other words, the entire planet. That is our purpose. Right? That's what we went through. We went through Yahweh is our power. Right? Everything on the universe is our power. That's why as you destroy the air, as pollution gets greater, you get sicker. Why? Because it's your power. As you pollute the water, you get sicker. Why? Because that's your power. When you kill the animals, you get sicker. Why? Because that's your power. As they cut down the trees, you get sicker. Why? Because that's your power. But we just think it's okay. Another street. Yay, we got a new shopping mall. Whoa, yay. See how sick we are? We are mentally ill. I want you to really get that. It is very important to get. We celebrate at our death. We're celebrating. Yay, a new shopping mall. They just cut down all the trees. Yahweh is your power. They just murdered your power. They're cutting down trees. And we're rejoicing. A new highway was built. That's going to cause more pollution to destroy the air, destroy the water. But hey, yay, a new highway. We are sick. This is real. Right? Now, Israel is our power. The name. Go back and watch that. That's super important. That's a deep piece. Our elders are our power. Powerful. Right? So I'm gonna continue on through. We dealt with that. I want y'all to go back and watch that if you haven't seen it. And again, you got to go to our Patreon, patreon.com/health class, patreon.com/health class. Now, power of the man, we're still in the power of the man, power of the man. Yes, so I dealt with that. Power to heal water. I'll show you scriptures. Power to change the weather. I show you scriptures. Can restore life. Scriptures. Call fire from heaven. You don't know what you can do yet. Men and women. Command your household after Yahuwah. Conclusion of the whole matter. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear or respect. This becomes respect and it will become love, which is going to be more powerful. You start in fear because you don't have understanding. But once you get understanding, it becomes love. Love Elohim. That means everything on the planet. Love everything in the universes. Love Elohim. And keep his, her commandments. When you translate it properly, it should be his, her. Because there's no word in English to be able to show you masculine and feminine entity as one. And keep his, her commandments. But this is the whole man. This is what makes a man. And that should be Adam. So we know Adam is the masculine and feminine as one. Adam, when it said Elohim said what? And called her name. He said, and Elohim made he made them male and female and called their name Adam. So here the word, when you see the word man here, it's Adam for man, right? That is male and female. So the conclusion of the whole matter for man and woman is to respect or love, really, Elohim and keep his, her commandments. For this is the whole man. The whole Adam. This is what makes you whole. For Elohim will bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Why? Because judgment is what's showing up in your space every day. That's what judgment is. Judgment is what's showing up in your space every single day from what you did yesterday or a week ago or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. You're creating everything. You create your own judgment every single day. That's why you can create anything you want. Whether the judgment be good or whether the judgment be evil is totally up to you. You can't blame nobody else. You can't point, they did this to me, so what? I'll show you somebody in a worser situation and they didn't fall for that, so why did you? It ain't no excuse, reason, or explanation. Once you get that power back, now you can create. Right? Power of the woman. Woo-wee! This is my favorite, one of my favorites. Love this, right? Because this has been hidden, right? Two things that have been majorly hidden is the purpose of the man, which you'll see in the Power of the Man when you watch those videos. That's number one. That was hidden. Why? Because if the man understands his power, then these kingdoms will all fall. If man understands his power and his purpose on the planet, all these kingdoms will fall. That's why they can never teach you that. That's why the man has never truly learned his purpose. So go back and watch that video, Power of the Man, right, on our Patreon. Watch that. That is super important. The second thing that has been hidden is the power of the woman, who and what she really is according to scriptures. Not according to religion. I said according to scriptures. When you understand who and what the woman is and who and what you are, they will never be able to stop you. Game over. Game over. And when a man understands what his wife truly is, now he can build properly, because he will have the right and proper respect for his wife or wives. Right? So, power of the woman, again, we went through that. I had to go deep into this for you all. But I showed you first off in it, I dealt with how Yahweh is male and female, right? With El Shaddai. El is masculine, Shaddai is feminine. And it says, and I appeared unto Abraham and Ishak and unto Yaakov as El Shaddai. They put Elohim Almighty, but it shouldn't say that. It should say the powerful breasted one. That's what it should say. Actually, it should say the powerful breasts, like the powerful breasted one. This is masculine, this is feminine. You will always see that with the Creator. Always. Yahweh, that name, masculine, Yahweh is feminine. That's why they tried to change it to Yahweh. They were trying to make it masculine. But it was not. It's Yahweh, masculine and feminine. That's why they call it an irregular form of the verb, because it's masculine and feminine. El Shaddai, masculine, El Shaddai, feminine. Right? Powerful. You will always see that. It's not, that ain't gonna change with Yah. It's always gonna be masculine and feminine when you understand the language. And I show you how they tried to hide it from you. So I had to go into the what are these called? The actual lexicon. I had to go into the lexicon to get these words for you, because they'll hide it. They'll send you to the wrong places to get the wrong definitions on purpose in the Strong's Concordance. That's not accidental. That's purposefully done. They purposefully lead you to the wrong places. So I had to go in there to show you and go through the different numbers myself to show you the true, where you should be looking at the name, at what it's saying, rather. Then we dealt with King Solomon, where he had multiple women. I mean, not multiple women, excuse me. He made false deities, right? And the powerful piece on this is you see Elohe here. You see this word Elohe, and you notice the word goddess next to it. So you'll see Elohe right here, and then you'll see the word goddess right here. See, they know. But then you're going to see them use Elohe for Yah right here, right? And Yah was angry with Solomon because his heart was turned away from Yah, the Elohim of Israel. The word they used here, because they were talking about feminine gods, then they were using Elohe again here for feminine God. This should have said Yahweh, the goddess, not the God. Do you understand? Then Elohim is the goddess and the God as one. But they didn't do that, did they? No, they won't do that. Why? Because they're going to deceive you. They never want you to know. They want you to think man is above you. Man is not above you. The only person that has authority over you during the fall, because when we come back, I don't know if the man's going to have authority anymore when we get to our fullness, to be honest with you. But during this process of the fall, the only person that has authority in any way over you in any way is your husband. That's why I said you got to choose. That's why I got to be two whole people coming together, and you must choose your husband extremely wisely. That's why parents chose, because that is a serious position. But the only man, according to the scriptures, that at this season would be considered over you, and if he's wise, he wouldn't even consider himself over you. He would just have the final word. Because I don't consider myself over my wife or woman anymore. I'm done with that. So what I'm telling you is, I'm saying he just has the final word. Just like a CEO in a company or a president of a company. That's it. He's not greater than you, or she's not greater than you, or president of a company. They just have the final say. That's it. But that don't make them greater than you or better than you. It's your husband. But what did religion teach you? Religion taught you man was over you. Man's not over you. That you can't show me that scripture. You can go through the scripture from beginning to end, and you will never find where Yah said man was over woman. Yah never said that. You might find Paul lying and saying that, because he said he was a liar. But you will never find y'all saying that anywhere in the scriptures. Man is not over woman. That's very important to get. So you got Elohe. That should have been goddess. Elohim is goddess and God as one. This is plural. Right? Now, when we come here, shed. Oh, I dealt with that because that was another scripture. So here we see it says they sacrifice unto demons, not gods. It says, and will sacrifice them to Shadim, not Eloah. Right? And the reason being, it's saying because Shadim are the female gods. Where it has demons here, these are the breasted ones. In Africa, they used to make these false deities, these false gods with a bunch of breasts on them to try to replicate El Shaddai, the breasted one, right? So they would make these images you would bow down to with breasts on them. That was a feminine deity. So when it spoke of the feminine deities, it spoke of Yahweh as Eloah. Not, they worship these false deities or these false female deities, not the feminine of Yah, not the feminine aspect of Yah. So they replaced the feminine aspect of Yah with these false feminine deities. That's what this is saying. So it would be, let me tell you something. If Yah in Hebrew, let me be very clear with you. In the Hebrew language, and most languages around the world, if you used a feminine attribute, like a feminine adjective, I guess that would be descriptive of a noun. Yeah. If you used a feminine adjective in order to describe a male, that is total disrespect. You couldn't do that. Would be illegal to say Eloah. That would be illegal. You couldn't say that. You couldn't say that. It would have to say Shadim, not Elohim. It would have to say that. It couldn't say Eloah. And you see how they try to put the two lines here to say like it should have been Elohim or something like that? Maybe. I don't know why they got the two lines there. But you see that? And you don't see that nowhere else. Because they will always are trying to remove the power of the woman. Always. I'm telling you, Yah showed me this. Like I said, I did not write the creation series. This was given to me. That's why I can say it with such velocity, because I know it. Like, I didn't know this. This was given to me. You feel what I'm saying? Like, for real. So I'm saying, like, this is how real it is. The power of the woman. What in the world is a help me? Watch the video for that. That's powerful. Why? Because this is the key to unlocking you. What is a help me? What is a help me? What in the world is a help me? Nobody never heard of that. They try to teach you the helper of a man and da 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 this and they be lying. Like I'm telling you, that's all religion. They know that's not that proper translation. There's no way you could translate this whole Bible and come up with the word help me for Ezer Ka Negdo. Impossible. You could never come up with that. I don't care if you translated it incorrectly. You found the wrong word for Negdo. Even if you did, they could never get help me out of that. That don't even make sense. You got what I'm saying? So I want you to go back and watch that, get that, understand it. What does wives mean for real? What does it come from? What is the actual etymological scriptural etymology of that word, or Hebraic rather etymology of that word? What is it? Watch that video. It's deep, right? We found out the woman is great. That's one thing we know. Sarah. Woo. Keyword. Now we get into, now those first 4 classes or 5 classes, something like that. Those classes were foundational. This is who you are and your power, because you have to know that to be able to create. Now we move to a couple foundational pieces that you need to remove in order for you to be. But you should be able to hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Tell me when you can hear me. Please tell me you can hear me, because that's going to. Okay, you can hear me now, but you can't see me yet. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna get me back. Let me do this. Oh, 1 second. It's gonna take me a second to get back. I do apologize. Come on. I need you to act right. It's gonna take a second. Can you all still hear me? Can you hear me still? This thing is gonna take forever. I need to make sure you all can hear me still. Can you hear me still? Or am I locked up? You can't hear me? All right, good. All right, give me a second. Give me a second. I'm so sorry this happened right now, because I was flowing right now. I was in the mode. We might not have camera in a minute for a minute, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can do anything right now. Just bother me until this clicks out. All right. Put questions. If y'all have questions or anything like that in there, please put them in now. That would be good. Man, I really wanted to continue on this right now, but everybody's with me. So, can you all see the screen? If I change it, let me see if I can change it. Can you all see that I'm changing the screen? Can you see that I'm changing the screen? Can you see that I'm okay? You see that change? Oh, I'm just going to continue then until it clicks in. I didn't think y'all would be able to see that. Okay, cool. So what? The last thing that you all heard was when I said now we move from who you were. Now we move to the next phase. I mean, like the next things. If you don't do this, then you're going to create negative and positive. Did you guys get that part? Did y'all hear that? It's okay if I'm just froze. That don't even matter. I'm good with that. That ain't nothing. Did you all get that part? I need to know. Did you all get the part where I said that you're going to create positive and negative, and you'll be wondering why? Did you all hear that? Or if not, what's the last thing that you all heard? Can you all hear me? I don't know if y'all can hear me because I'm not getting any responses. Okay, last thing you heard was that the power of us was foundational. Now, this next section we go into is what will break down everything. Okay, perfect. Okay, good, 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 good. So the next section, right. So this section here, the next portion, what's going to happen is if you don't remove these things in this next foundational portion, you're going to be creating good and bad, and you're going to be wondering why, because you're going to be like, I didn't try to create this. Why is this showing up in my space? So what's going to happen is now you're going to be like, okay, why did this show up? Because you're not clear yet. You still got fear, you still got doubt, you still got guilt, you still got anxiety, and you haven't cleared. Therefore, your subconscious is still creating. So you have to clear the subconscious. So we deal with these next phases is fear, doubt, guilt, anxiety, breaking the bars, right? We breaking them bars because these got you locked in. It's like your jail. Fear, doubt, guilt, anxiety, right? So we dealt with that. To remove fear, this is the clearing meditation, introspection, retrospection, purification, and sanctification. This is key right here, right? Then anxiety. What is anxiety? Anxiety is the belief that something is going to happen that hasn't happened yet, right? That's what anxiety basically is, okay? So it's the belief that something's gonna happen and ain't nothing happened, ain't no problem, but you just made up a story that something happened to you, right? That something's going to happen. And this is where a lot of people live. And so you got to get away from that, okay? It's key because you're gonna create through anxiety. All right? Now let's continue. We dealt with the anxiety. I'm gonna keep going. Okay, it's moving a little bit slower. What down the rabbit hole? That means we dealing with perspective, right? Your perspective, right? So go back to watch that whole video. This video is, I went through all the videos again. While I've been building, I've been listening to all the creation series, right? So I'm letting you know, like, they're good. Make sure you watch them. So guilt is a cognitive or emotional experience that occurs when a person believes or realizes accurately or not that he or she has compromised his or her own standards of conduct or has violated a moral standard. That's guilt. And a lot of people live in guilt. Your behavior a lot of times is based in guilt because you think you owe somebody something, but you don't owe. I want you to get this. This is how people abuse you. You don't owe anybody anything. I want you to be very clear on that. You don't owe anyone anything at all. Period. I want you to click that in and lock that in. You don't owe nobody nothing. Okay? So people abuse you by making you feel guilty. They will make you feel guilty. They will try to be like, I'm your mother. You did that to, you got what I'm saying? You should be here and da 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 da. Or your friend or your quote unquote friend or your sister or this and that. They use these things to control you. You don't owe nobody nothing. You understand what I'm saying? But once you clear, that's why that scripture I'll show y'all in Jeremiah 8 and 18, and yeah, 8 and 18, or 18 and 8, and that scripture that I show you in Ezekiel 18 and Ezekiel 33, to show you that every moment is a new moment, and whatever was professed against you, to evil against you, if you turn and do that which is what? Lawful and right, according to the divine law, all of that will not be remembered any longer. At what instant? That's the key phrase. So every second you have an opportunity to change everything in your life. Every second. How do we know this is true? Because a person that has amnesia, right, will change. If they get amnesia, they become a new person just like that. I mean, a brand new person. Literally. People don't even know who they are. They're like a whole new being. So you can become a new being overnight. I'm letting you know. I've seen it happen. I've seen people do it. So I'm telling you, like, you can become a brand new being. The issue is you're living in guilt. Your past is what's holding you back, truthfully. Doubt is what's going to make you not create. That's why you have to know you are Elohim. Doubt is disbelief. The opposite of doubt is faith. 1 ounce of doubt and you have no faith. It ain't 50-50. It don't work like that. Faith is only 100%. 1 ounce of doubt, you have zero faith. Because if you doubt, how can you have faith? You can't have, that's impossible. I have faith, but I doubt. How? That don't even make bad sense, do it? No, it doesn't. Right? Let me see if I can fix this camera real quick. Let me see. I think that was it. Yeah, that's it. Can y'all hear me still? Can you still hear me? See which one of these was the camera. It don't seem like none of them mugs was the camera. No, I don't want you on at all. Take you out. All right. So, just don't seem like none of these was a camera. You can't hear me. You can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, you do now. Okay, great. All right, so let's continue. So doubt is disbelief. All right, so I'm just going to be stuck for the rest of this. Now, this is the next phase of development right here. This, woo, makes all the difference in the world. What is this right here? Ego. Now, I love what one of my teachers who has transitioned, but I love him, called this. You know what he used to say? What ego means? Ego means ease God out. ease God out. In other words, you removed the Elohim in you. That's how I look at it, what he was saying. And that's what it means. You have removed it. So this is where most people live, in their ego. And why? Because the ego is what they created in order to protect themselves from the human zoo. So the real you hid. And now you've created this false being called the ego, and you've become it in your mind. You're not it, but you become it. And people have lost who they really are. And that's why the clearing meditation is so important, so you can go back and find yourself, because you don't know who you are for real. Right? So the goal is we have to remove ego. Right? And I think this is with one of my mentors. Yes. There's a class from one of my mentors, so you guys can go back and watch that. It's extremely powerful, but you can go back and watch that class. It's a great class, okay? And when you watch the ego class, I do play that video, and then we go through it. It's extremely powerful. So I developed the ego chart in this, and we dealt with the id, the ego, and the super ego. And so you can go through that and really understand the ego and how it works, right? So we dealt with that. The ego, went through it. We went through the different pieces of the ego, how they break down, and what is so powerful about it, okay? And then I showed you examples of the ego with Cain and Abel. And I dealt with first we dealt with the scriptures with it, and then we dealt with the book of Jasher with it, okay? So the book of Jasher is one of what they would call the missing books of the Bible. It's mentioned in the scriptures, right? But it's not in the scriptures. So I deal with that here as well. Now we've made it to the creation series. This is the key ingredient right here. The formula. Right? This formula right here. What is the formula, guys? Type it in the chat. I know y'all remember it. Does anybody remember the formula? Type it in the chat. Just waiting. Type it in the chat. Maybe y'all haven't caught up with me yet. Prayerfully, y'all can still hear me. All my stuff is locked up for the most part. But you can see what I can see, so that's good. Good. Vision plus opportunity plus integrity equals plus. That was perfect. Equals plus success. Multiple successes equal freedom. You got that to a science now. And that's what it is. It's science. This works. This formula right here works. This formula works. This is the key to creation. This is a formula for creation. Let me say it that way. Okay? So vision plus opportunity plus integrity equals success plus, because multiple successes equal freedom. This is key, and this is what most people don't know. They do not understand this, right? So I dealt with the foundational classes and their purpose. Books needed, I dealt with that. Now, vision plus opportunity plus integrity equals plus success and freedom. We dealt with that already. Vision, right? The ability to see what you want We must perfect envisioning, must be able to see beyond the wall. This is very important, to be able to see beyond the wall. What is the wall? The wall is the world that has been pulled over your eyes in order to turn a human being into this, a battery. You can't see it right now. That was just a statement from the Matrix. But it is. That's what it is. You have to see beyond that. You have to see beyond the human zoo. You got to be the average person, or what's going on in your life right now. Really is the wall for most people. They can't see beyond what's going on right now, this moment. You got to be able to see the future, because that is where the future is, where you create realities in the future, in your imagination. So if you can't see, if you can only see the moment, right, which most people, that's where they live, in the moment. If you can only see that far, you can never create the future purposefully. They do it accidentally, but they don't know how to do it purposefully. You must be able to think and remove pain points. This is very important. This is clearing. Got to clear. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. Until you get it, until you do it, until you clear, you will understand what I'm saying. When you start creating stuff, and then what's going to show up, you're going to be like, what in the world? Where did that come from? When you even get to the point of creating and then be like, where did that come from? You're doing good. You are doing better than most. When you can say, where did that come from? How did I create that? When you can make those statements, you're doing real good. You're doing real good. The nonlinear, that's a different conversation. We'll deal with that a little later. I dealt with it in one of the classes, though, already, but we're going to go deep into the nonlinear. Yes, the nonlinear. Very good. But that's not the nonlinear showing up. That's your negative subconscious. Those are the things hidden in your subconscious showing up. That's you showing up. The nonlinear is when you're trying to implement the creation. So, for instance, when you're trying to implement the creation, or what your vision, right, or your integrity, what's going to show up is the nonlinear. So something might show up where you like, I can't get there, or this, I'm trying to do it, but it's something like you don't know what's going to show up to help you to go to the next level. It's not negative. The nonlinear is positive. So it's going to show up like it's going to be the gap. It might show up like a gap might show up. And what's going to show up is the nonlinear, or the Elohim, are going to come to your rescue or to your benefit, because they trust you because you're keeping your word. So don't never worry. That's why you have to have faith. Because if you don't have faith, you will be like, well, it's not going to happen, so bump it. I'll just not do it, or I'll cancel it, or because the universe has set up everything to be where you said you were going to be at that time. So if you be like, well, this ain't showing up, that ain't showing up, you still got to show up, because you don't know what's going to show up in your space. You have no idea what's going to show up in your space. The nonlinear will always be there. Or what we say, Yah, Yahuwah, or Elohim, is always going to be there on your behalf. The divine universal forces will always be there. Or the nonlinear. Linear is, I planned this, I did this, and this is what's going to happen. That's linear. Nonlinear are the things that show up that you're not expecting to help you on that journey, because you are there because you said you would be there. You did what you said you were going to do, no matter what. That's the nonlinear. The responses you're going to get because you did what you said you were going to do. That's key. Now, surrogate parent. Watch that. Woo-wee! That's deep right there. Therefore, most never become adults. Yes, you gotta watch the video for that. Victim or the creator, right? The victim is human. The creator is Elohim. The victim lives in the id, The creator lives in the superego. Victim creates haphazardly, creator creates on purpose. Victim blames others for their problems. Creator takes full responsibility for problems. Victim has no integrity. Creator has complete integrity. Victim cannot see opportunity. Creator is looking for opportunity at all times. This is what people get this confused, and they will call these people opportunists. But they are opportunists. They're supposed to be. You're supposed to be an opportunity. You're supposed to always be looking for an opportunity. The key is you're to be looking for opportunities that don't hurt other people. That's the difference. But you are to always be looking for an opportunity. Victim word, their word means nothing. What they say they're going to do, it doesn't mean anything. The creator word is everything. Their word is everything. The victim has no faith. The creator is faith. You will get to the point where you will become faith. Not you'll be saying I have faith. That's the step one. You will become faith. That's deep. You got what I'm saying? When that happens. Victim thinks life just happens. Creator knows life is a creative process. The victim is reactive. The creator is proactive. That's back to the four quadrants. Right there. Right? Reactive. So the victim lives in what quadrant? If the victim is reactive, what quadrants do they live in? They live in two key quadrants. What would you say the victim, what two quadrants would you say the victim lives in if they're reactive? Urgent and important. Very good. That's one. They would definitely be living in urgent and important. It's important, but now they've let it become urgent, right? Because they're being reactive instead of proactive. So they're living in urgent and important. And what's the other quadrant they'll be living in? Anyone? Urgent and important was perfect. That's the main quadrant they're going to live in because they're reactive. They're always waiting for something to show up for them to be able to react. That's why they said they can only live in the moment. They can't see beyond the wall. Good. No, not they live there. They might be in not important and not urgent. I'll agree with that. That's true. But they will live in urgent but not important. Urgent but not important. Yes, they'll live there. You're right. They could live in that one. But they're going to live in urgent and not important. Because why? Because urgent and not important because they're reacting to what somebody else is saying. See, if you don't have a plan, people will take your life from you. See, I have a plan. I got to do this, and this. So if somebody calls me and says, "Can you do so and so?" No, I can't. I can do it maybe here or there, but no, I can't because I have a plan, and you're not breaking my plan because I'm staying in important and not urgent. That's my goal. I try to keep everything in important and not urgent. That's proactive. But most people are at spur of the moment or in the moment. So therefore, urgent and not important will show up and they'll be like, well, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. And now they all the stuff that they should have been doing for important and to keep their stuff in important and not urgent, now they can't do it, which is their fault. It ain't the person that called you because you chose to do it. It's your fault. But now they end up in urgent and important. So this is why that reactive person will end up there. You got what I'm saying? So yes, exactly. And now you ain't keeping your word and doing what you're supposed to do. There's your problem. And there ain't no one to blame but yourself. Now, components of wealth must envision more than enough. Okay? Must envision free time, must envision perfect health, and must envision a philanthropist's effort. Okay? 4 keys to wealth, right? Now, what did he say? Write down the vision and make it plain. Yes, yes, yes. So opportunity, right? We dealt with opportunity. Opportunities will show. Your first one will show up for free. Your first one will show up for free. Okay? You must recognize opportunity. You must take advantage of it. And then every time you do, there's going to be another opportunity to give your word once you take advantage of that opportunity. Okay? Integrity, doing what you say you're going to do when you're going to do it. I do not want you to get this confused with moral integrity. This is not moral integrity. Those are two different things. That's called righteousness. Moral integrity, what is called moral integrity today, is actually what the scriptures calls righteousness. Okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about integrity, doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. This is key. All right? Integrity. Your word is your bond. Either your word makes your world or the world makes your word. Watch that video again. Excuses, reasons, and explanations. Integrity in Hebrew means perfect. Most people in this season do not have integrity. They do not know the power of the word. The word is how the world was created. The word is how the world was created. It's powerful. Now, I dealt with that integrity all the way through. And now we're off into success. Okay? So success is coming up. I thought, did I do success? Yeah, I did success. Yep, that's right. So success, as you build the strength of your integrity, you build the strength of your successes. Successes cannot and will not happen without integrity. It's impossible. And this is where most people fail because they don't understand the power of their word. They think it's okay to tell a little white lie. They think it's okay to just do these things. When you understand the power of integrity, integrity creates everything. Quitters create a story when they fail instead of try again. Right? You can always go to a quitter. You can always find a loser because when they fail, they always got a story to tell you about it. I can go to 100 people and sit with them, and I promise you, they all will have a story of failure if they're a failure. A winner won't have a story of failure because they'll have a story of success because they might say I failed here, but then I tried this or I did this and did it. Now I got it working. That's a difference. That's not a failure story. That's a learning. But a quitter will quit when they fail. They won't try again. The quitter story, ego, they take it personal. Number one, they quit because they took it personal. I used to get this all the time with sales reps, with telemarketers especially. So if a person will come in and telemarket, like you had to be strong to do that. Really, they'll take it personal and quit when somebody say no to them. Like it's just no. Like what's so special about no? But people take that extremely hard. That's their ego. That's their ego. They have low self-esteem is really what it is. But it's their ego. So that their ego got hurt. Justification. It's not me. Right? You fail your way to the top, but you're not making a failure story. See, what I mean by that is, well, Bob, why didn't you do this, this, and this? Because the job because something happened and therefore so and so did this to me and therefore I wasn't able to succeed. That's a failure story. Those are losers, right? That's a failure story. Winners don't have failure stories like that. Failing your way to the top that's a success story. Right? I went through this, I did that, this happened to me, da 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 da, but now I'm da 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 this and da 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 this. That's a winner story. You got what I'm saying? When you quit, they have failed once and then quit. They failed, but then they quit. A winner will fail, but will not quit. Right. So the quitter story, why? Because they take it personal. They're going to create a story. It just wasn't for, they won't even say it just wasn't for me. That's taking too much responsibility. Excuse me. They'll say stuff like, no, they gave me the bad leads, or they'll say whatever. But we all went through that. How come these people that got bad leads and you got bad leads and now you got a problem? You got what I'm saying? Like, no. You are a loser. That's it. Now you can become a winner. Like I said, two forms of matter cannot occupy the same space at the same time. So two forms of matter. So if you're a winner, who you are as a winner cannot occupy the same space as who you are as a loser. A loser can become a winner. Some people believe they can't, but I believe so. But a loser can become a winner, and a winner can become a loser. Right? At what instant? It's always at what instant. Justification. It's not me, right? Blame. The object of blame. They start blaming this and blaming that and da this and da. They're gonna blame everything always. And I use that example of telemarketer, right? So winners never quit. The race is not to the swift, but to those who endure until the end. Consistency equals longevity. A winner's story is always beneficial to creating the next future moment. Okay? So I believe that's it until we get to freedom. I haven't done freedom yet. We will go through that. So do we have any questions on anything before I close out? You can't see me right now. That might be good. Man, it ain't let me close it out either, so I don't know how I'm going to do this one. But I'm glad y'all could follow along. That's a good thing. I don't even think I can end the stream or anything. Do we have any questions on anything? I'll give y'all a second to put in questions. After that, that's it. I'm out. Okay, you have some questions. Please put them in the chat. I'm waiting on your questions, y'all day. Anybody else with any questions? So it's just important to recognize the opportunity? No. You have to recognize, but it's super important to recognize it. That's what most people can't recognize. That's the key recognition. You have to have a vision first. Most people have a vision. In other words, I want to be rich. I want to do this. I want to be healthy. I want my children to be good. Those are visions. They're not profound visions. They're average visions, but they have a vision. Now you have to see the opportunity to make that a reality, and most people don't. They don't see the opportunity. They miss their opportunities because they're not looking for an opportunity. Okay, back to the virtuous woman. Man and woman, you said we must be whole. Good, yes. Before we come together, yes. See, let's say it this way. We went through captivity as a people, right? And the way this society is set up, I don't care what nationality you are, you get caught up in this society, it's designed on impulse. In other words, you're free to do whatever you want to do, and you can do whatever you want to do, but if you go against what we say, then you're going to jail. Basically, that's their game, right? but you're supposedly free to do whatever. That's the sales pitch that they use around the world. So you're free to do whatever. So what happened is they destroyed the family, right? The family structure was destroyed, right? So now you got most men not being in the households, right? Divorce is taking place. All types of crazy stuff that are not necessary. I'm not talking about a necessary divorce. There are divorces that take place that are necessary. I'm not talking about those. Right? If the man's not being a man or the woman's not being a woman, there could be a time for divorce. That could be real. But I'm saying that to say these things destroyed the family. Welfare was designed to destroy the family. Why? Because the man could not be in the household. That was purposefully done to destroy the family. You understand what I'm saying? The promotion of homosexuality was done purposefully to destroy the family structure. Those weren't accidents. Those were planned destroyers of the household, of the family. You got what I'm saying? So what happened was what happened was it was impulse. I feel like this, do that. I feel like this, do that. I feel like that, do that. I feel like this. But it's not about how you feel. It's what does good. Not what feels good, what does good. Those are two different things. And society has been taught to do what feels good versus what does good. This is why the eating binges happen. This is why you have the worst health in history on the planet. This is the reason for these things, because of the promotion of doing whatever you want. Now, why did I say all that? Because now what has to happen is, before, when you got married, you had a mother and a father choosing. If the daughter could have had something to do with it, or the son could have said, I like this person, but both families came together to choose or decide to make the final choice to say they are compatible, they are whole. The daughter, it don't have no mental illnesses, she's not spiritually deficit, and she is physically fit. The husband, they're looking at the man. Is he physically fit? Does he have the finances to take care of my daughter? Is he mentally healthy? Is he able to do this? And with the woman, does she have the skills to be able to take care of my son? Right? This is real. These were true, real decisions made like that. But we don't have that anymore. That's been totally destroyed. So because that's destroyed, so what they were looking for was, is your daughter whole and is your son whole? That's all that's what they were looking for. Are they two whole people coming together? That's why sons and daughters were raised. That's a literal word. Remember, raised is talking about ascension. They were raised by their parents, given the information to make the right choices and decisions. You can't force no good child, and you can't force a bad child. That's who they become. Because of the choices they chose to make. They might have to go through 2 or 3 more lives to make the right choices. You don't know who's coming through the womb. You don't know who they might have done 10 times better this lifetime, and you might be calling them bad than they did last lifetime. We don't know. But what I am saying is that, so if that child is acting crazy and bad, that mother and father gonna be like, no, you can't marry them. They might be in love and da-da-da, you know what I'm saying? Quote unquote love. That ain't real love, but they might be quote unquote in love or in lust, and now they trying to get married. Nah. But today, it could be whatever. You see what I'm saying? Now you got two unwhole people. Not you got one whole and one unwhole. You got two unwhole people marrying, trying to create something positive. That's crazy. That's never gonna work. So yes, two whole people have to come together. Two whole. And this is patience. This is where you got to go inside. But we be doing this, that 5-year-old child or 3-year-old child or 2-year-old, they be meditating at 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years old. They'll be clear. They won't have issues coming up. When we become whole, take two whole parents raising a child. That's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole nother reality. They're going to be eating right. They're going to be seeing right. They ain't going to be watching murder and kill and this on TV. That's not, you know how crazy that is? No, whole, yes, that's true with self, but in every way. In every way. You have to be whole. You have to be complete in every form. Can you take care of your wife? Do you have the finances to take care of her? Do you have the mental capacity? In other words, have you cleared, or do you still have issues that you're trying to deal with? You know what I'm saying? Like you have pedophiles that will come in and marry a woman and now molesting her children. You got what I'm saying? That person ain't whole. You got a man that will come in and be like, I'm not gonna work. I'm not gonna work. Make no money. Do not. That he ain't whole. That's not a whole being. You got men that'll be like, you know what I'm saying? They might have a mental illness. They're not whole. They should have no woman at all. Period. When you're coming to the table, you should be whole in every aspect, mentally, physically, and spiritually. All three aspects, you got to be whole. Come in there. And she has to be whole, mentally, physically, and spiritually. What's she bringing to the table? And y'all have discussed it. And you know this is what we're doing. This is our plans for the future. Here's how we're going to raise children. All of that should already be discussed. Before you even touch her, before you marry this woman, all that has to be put on the table. Y'all got to be coming together whole. Now, when you come together whole as one with a plan and a future, you're going to create a positive future. You're going to create heaven on earth. But what are most relationships creating? Hell. You could tell by the children. You could tell by the household. Most relationships are creating hell. Why? Because the parents are sick. They're not whole. And if the parents are sick, the only example that the child's going to have is sickness. Now, if you can get that child out of that environment and put them in a new environment, watch the difference in that child. It ain't what you say, it's who you're being that's going to make the difference. So, yes. Did you have another question? I think you said you had a couple. Did I answer that question? Oh, yeah, you put a number. So if a man or woman is not whole and learn this in the relationship, should they walk away? I'm going to be clear with you. If a man and woman is not whole, it's not going to work anyway. I want you to understand. Now, if y'all already together and one of y'all ain't whole, you've already made that choice. Y'all hates divorce. So if you're gonna divorce a woman, right now, that is big. That's something you have to really, because she has to be doing something, or he has to be doing something that is liable for that. So, for instance, they have to have done or are doing something that is worthy of divorce. Yah hates it. So when you make that choice, you have to have tried everything before divorce. Everything. And if that doesn't work, then it's time for divorce. Feel what I'm saying? Then that's the only time it's time. You have to have tried, but y'all have to have tried everything. Now, I would say this: if a man or woman is physically abusing or even mentally abusing, honestly, or spiritually abusing a person, whether it's one of the children or the husband or the wife, if they, and that's proven. I mean, it can't just be some off the whim, I think it's abuse. No, you'll know this is like physical or mental or spiritual abuse. You'll be able to tell. People will be able to tell that. If they're doing that to a child or the mother, I mean, or the wife or the husband, either which way, then that's grounds, major grounds for divorce. Right? Molestation, raping children, beating children, uh, um, beating the wife, or the woman beating the husband. I've seen that too. I've seen that a lot. I've seen both of them like a lot. Beating a husband or a wife, that is grounds. If they can stop, stay together. But if that's all ego, all of that is ego. Yeah, but a man or woman coming together whole, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do those things because they're already whole. So they know, they can see the God in their children. They know that. They can see that they're going to be clear. They're going to understand. They're going to have understanding. Feel what I'm saying? But most people don't. When they come together, it's just a free for all. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Please put them in the chat. Can you all still hear me? How do you all like this class? Can you all still hear me? And if so, how do you all like the class? Uh-oh. Did we look that? Okay, there we go. Good recap? Okay, great. Go back through. Y'all need to go back through and watch those classes. I wish I would have done it. I was telling y'all, watch these classes again while I wasn't doing classes. Right? But thank you. I appreciate that. I had to stop trying to earn my worthiness and embody it. Align my internal and external world authenticity. Becoming a new being will make people feel threatened. It will if you try to force it on them. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to force you on them. All you have to do is, but if you change, people don't like it when you change because they like who you are. That's the hardest part for a lot of people is when you change, people aren't going to like the new you that were with you before. They're going to fall off. They're going to have to fall off because two forms of matter cannot occupy the same space at the same time. Two different forms. So what's going to happen is when you move into a new level of consciousness, a new space is created because you're now envisioning something different. So then now you're envisioning another thing. You're going to attract that which is going to benefit you in that particular consciousness. But they will come back as they ascend. They don't feel threatened. They feel like they're gonna lose. They have fear of loss, not threatened. It's fear of loss. It's fear of loss. They feel that they're losing you. For instance, when I used to get drunk and I stopped drinking, one of my partners said to me, "Man, what are we gonna do now?" He was afraid. He was losing me. That was fear. You understand what I'm saying? That was fear. So it's not if they'll come at you like it's straight because remember anger is what? Elevated fear, right? So when people are showing anger, a lot of times that's fear. Not it is fear. It's elevated fear. It's really what anger is. So instead of showing you fear, they show you anger because fear is considered weak and anger is considered strong. We don't want to have empathy. You want to always give solutions. I don't really worry about it no more. Now I like being by myself anyway, so it don't bother me at all. When somebody be like, "Okay, man, well, we can't do this, we can't do that." No, nah, I'm done. I love it. So I'm used to it though. See, a lot of things that scare people, a lot of things that where people be like, "Well, yeah, but my friends and my family, I've already been through that. I already been through separating from all that. Like I've been through all of that. So it doesn't bother me at all when I have to grow. When it's time for me to grow, I grow. I don't have no fear of it. Like Hakatsa, right? So what class was that? Did I deal with that already? Yeah, I walked y'all through that. I think I did deal with that already, but it's going to be a class if I didn't deal with this, but I think I did already. But there's three stages of your development every time you're going to a new level of consciousness. And this is in the book God, the Black Man, and the Truth by Ben Ami. So you have Hakatsa. It's in both. It's in that and in, I know I did because it was in Everlasting Life also. So Hakatsa, the dreadful awakening. Next would be Kima, standing to your feet. Now you're kind of firm in the new thing that you learned or the new belief system. And then lastly is Takia. Now you're living again. You're breathing. You're in the breath of life. You're living, right? But then what's going to happen is you're going to go back down through it. So you're going to go from from Takia. Now you're going to learn something new that might shake your old belief system. So now you're going to move down to Kima because now you're going to be like shaky on that belief system. You're going to say, okay, let me quit, da 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 da. Then what's going to happen is you're going to come back into a dreadful awakening. Why? Or it's going to go back. I'm sorry. It's going to go from Takia to dreadful awakening again. Right? You're going to go to dreadful awakening. And when you hit dreadful awakening after Takia, it's because some new information came that shook the old belief system. Right? So you're going to be like, oh my goodness, I thought this was 100% truth. I thought I was in it, da 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 da. But now you learned something new. And now it's going to, if you stand on it, you're going on what you believed. Now you're going to get shaken. And that's where the fear comes again. Some people are able to go to the next level of Kima. Some people get stuck where they are. This is where they get stuck. So now that new information comes. But what happens is, remember, this is Jacob's ladder. So what happens is, remember, in Jacob's ladder, the angels could do what? Flow up and down the ladder fluently. You saw them flowing up and down the ladder. Why? Because they got rid of Hakatsa. Why? Because they got rid of what's called Klipot. Klipot are where you concretize a position. So now you say, this is the truth, and it's the only truth, and there's nothing else. That's concretizing a position. We do it with stories. I'm never going to do that again. That's concretizing a position. So you concretize that position. When that happens, now when you learn something new, it scares you because you created this as the truth. You just made up a story that this was true. but it was just a stepping stone to get you to the next level of your development. And once you get rid of this is the truth and holding on, when you can flow freely up and down the ladder, when you understand really there's no such thing as truth. Reality of truth is what you make it. Facts are past instances. Like I said, we're watching tons of metal fly through this air, and we call it an airplane. Now, if I went back in time, right, before airplanes were created, whatever time frame that was, that could have even been BC for all we know. But whatever time frame they were created, before that, if I went back and said, here, I'm going to take metal that weighs tons and make it fly through the air, they would have called me, they probably would have locked me up. Or they would have laughed me to derision. But we're watching tons of metal fly through the air. This is what I mean. There is no such thing as truth. So when you understand that and now you lock in, I mean now you can flow freely through the ladder. You understand what I'm saying? It says the word of Yahweh is truth. What is the word of Yahweh or Elohim? That's key. You see what I'm saying? Whatever you say that comes to fruition. So what I'm saying is now you can flow freely through the ladder. So you don't have Hakatsa no more. When somebody throws me some information, I can look at it objectively. Like, okay, let me see this. Let me see what you're talking about. Let me see it in action and let me see the results from it. Now you can grow faster. Now you can climb the ladder quicker. You got what I'm saying? But it's fear. That's a low level on the map of consciousness. Low level. Fear. It's fear of loss. Because they're afraid you're going to become somebody else. And you should. Everybody, like my mentor told me, and you know it. He said, what? If I was you, I wouldn't you be you anymore. Earlier you said financials. How do I move forward when my income has slowed? My responsibilities are heavy and my dreams are big. But I refuse to trade my vision for a job that drains my purpose. Right. So now you just gotta find what's going to be able to make the money. You know, you have to create something that you want to do that's going to make the money that you need to be able to support your family. But you got to support your family. That's a must. You have to do that. You got to support your family. That you have to do that. And you can build your dream. Don't ever stop. But that's why business is 24. Like we work hard running a business. It's real. You got to be able to provide and do this and do that and do all the things that you need to do. Make it happen. You got to build it. Right? So that's key. Yes, but you got to make it happen, bruh. That's the hardest part. That's why we have to build before. That's why we have to build before. It depends on your purpose for getting a job. I would always get something that's independent contractor. That's number one. Do something that's independent contractor. And then you're always using that money to build your dream. You understand what I'm saying? So do something that's independent contractor mode, not a job like a regular job. Don't get you no boss. I ain't saying that. I'm saying get something that, because there's so many businesses you can do and things that you can create to make the money that you need to make to change. As a matter of fact, a lot of times when you're working, what's going to happen is as you're building, if you're working like anything else, you're going to notice how low the money is compared to if you just grind on what it is that you're doing, how much more money you could make. But a lot of times because you have your own business, a lot of people don't do what's necessary in order to make it successful. They don't put in the hours, they don't do the things that are necessary because it's their business. And this is where the mini day comes in, because this is where you have to be, again, the quadrants come in, because you have to be responsible. Like, you have to respect your business. You have to respect your time. So if you say you got a business or you're not work, most people don't even understand what a business is because they've never had one, or they've never had one that's successful. So they think that means you got free time. Like, you have to check them. Like, no, I got this to do, this to do, this to do, this to do, this to do. I'm busy. I don't have time to do this and do that. You got what I'm saying? So you got to stay in the quadrants, and then you have to have a mini day. Yeah, well, that's good. I'm just saying. That's good that you're doing that. I'm just saying that's a good question. But no, in worst case scenario, do some independent contractor on the side and use that money to fuel what it is that you're doing. Right? That's key. All right. So with that, you just restructured your mini day? Good. That's good. And I've been implementing it, building my transportation business, and studying a new skill to catapult toward my dreams. That's great. Using the money to fund them. That's great. Outstanding. Good job. Does anybody have any other questions for me before we close it? The other thing, I want to say this. That's why before you come, all men, and you know I teach this all the time, all men, before you get a wife, before you even go looking for a woman, you want to make sure that your finances are in order. Meaning, you have the money to take care of your family or families, depending. But you definitely have to have that. That's one thing that I really push, especially period, for any wife, for your first wife. But if you're going to have another wife, if you can't take care of the first one, you definitely should not be dealing with a second one. Number one. Number two, you need to make sure that you have the finances for that. In the scriptures, Yah calls it he calls the Lion of Yehuda. He compares our people to lions, always. If you look at the Lion Kingdom, the strongest male in this society, strength is measured through finances. The strongest male will have wives. You understand what I'm saying? Why? Because he can take care of them. It's the same thing. You can have the amount of wives that you can take care of. So if you can only afford one wife, make sure you take care of your wife to the highest level. If you only want one wife, make sure you take care of that wife to the highest level. If you're going to have multiple wives, each wife should be taken care of to the highest level equally. I don't even believe, let me tell you how deep I go with it. I don't even believe, unless they want to, that two wives should be living in the same house. If you read the scriptures, each wife had their own tent. Tents in that season were houses. These were illustrious tents. These weren't like tents that you go buy at Walmart. These were like houses. Each wife had their own house. So if you can't afford to take on another household, like pay the rent, the water, the gas and electric, and be able to go out and do the things that y'all want to do in this, you can't take it ain't time to take no second wife. If your first wife ain't taken care of at that level, You understand what I'm saying? It ain't time. You got to build that. That ain't easy, right? So that's the financial side. But then you got to be able to do it spiritually, mentally, and physically. You understand what I'm saying? So that's on another level. So you got to be able to do it across the board. This is a responsibility. It's not a. People be thinking like having multiple wives is like a joyous occasion. You just playing around. No, 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 no. It's a massive responsibility. You got what I'm saying? It's massive responsibility. The very that's a high. It ain't. It's hard to do it and do it right and be there emotionally for them and be there physically and be there spiritually for them and mentally. That ain't no joke. So if you considering it, anybody, any man that's considering it's a 24-hour job on top of everything else you're doing. You said you did well for a while. I just had a fall through with one of my main sources of income. That's okay, but that's all right. That's normal. That can happen. But that can happen. But you just get back up. You just don't quit. This is what I always say. This is something I used to always teach. You do what you supposed to do. She got to make the choices she gonna make, but you do what you supposed to do. You got what I'm saying? You might go through a downtime. Now your wife might be like, I don't want to deal with you while you down and leave. That could happen. That's her choice. She has the right to do that. She has the right. I want you to be very clear. She has the right to do that. But then that could have been you just made a poor choice when picking a wife. You understand what I'm saying? You just made a poor choice, right? It's not about guiding their emotions. That's control. It's about hearing and being there for them emotionally, not guiding their emotions. That's control. You have to give them the conversation where they do it because they want to. I'm never don't see. I'm That's the other thing that I've grown into. That's another thing that's so beautiful that the creation series has helped me grow into. Like literally, I don't try to control nobody. I let everybody be free as a bird now. I used to be control. I used to be the control freak too. I understand. I was super controlling. Now you can do whatever you want. Here's what's going to happen. Here, I ask that you do right and this, that, and the other. But if you make this choice, these are the results. Now you choose depending on what you want, right? But that's it. I don't do none of that. No. That's why the man had his own tent too. So the man had his own tent. The wives had their own tents. Feel what I'm saying? That was very important. That was very important. It's not a light thing. Now, if you make if you one of your wives or your wives say, "I want you here," or "We want to live together," can you do that? Yes. There's no law that says no divine universal law or anything that says you cannot do that. But there's wisdom. There's a reason why it was done that way. There's wisdom, there's peace in that. But I've seen trust me, I've seen very happy households with multiple wives living in the house where the wives are like sisters. Like literally, like the wives are like sisters, they get along, they kick it. I've seen women who have divorced. I've seen multiple wife situations where the women divorced the husband together. they both divorced the husband. and they're best friends, right? Like multiple, not just one. Like this ain't just one instance. I've seen this before. You understand what I'm saying? So I've seen where one divorces, the other one stays, and the wives are still best friends. They still kick it. They go out. They do this. They do that together. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen all of it. I've seen where it's super positive. The wives kick it. They go out. They have parties at home. They do stuff together. It's great. You know what I'm saying? I've seen very positive relationships like that. I've seen negative ones. I've seen good ones. I've seen bad ones. Right? But it's what it is. It's the wisdom how to keep the balance. You know, the man is. I've seen real men really have multiple wives, different wives. I've seen a man who actually had two wives in two separate households, and he was to me well, I can't say that. That's not true. He's one of the most prosperous that I've seen that had two wives. I've seen another brother who is extremely prosperous who has two wives, and two of them actually one that's extremely prosperous though, right? And has two wives, and their wives lives in the same house. So I'm not gonna say, but he had two houses and very prosperous with two wives, and they got along, but they lived in two different houses, and he did it scripturally. He did it just like it said. So it's great wisdom in that. And he had his own house. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is that's scriptural. That's to the letter. Feel what I'm saying? Now, whatever agreement the household deems and makes, praise Yah. There is no law against any like living together, being together. You know what I'm saying? As long as the wives are happy with that, it's fine. But yeah, and I've seen it. I've seen very, very good. Usually, most times, especially during this season, because of the financial situations, most of the times right now, the wives are living with within one household. However, like I said, I've seen a man who has one, two, three. Does he have four? Yes, three wives. Three wives. He got three wives, and one of his wives has her own house. The other two live together, and their children and everything live together. And their children are basically grown now. So when they come home, they stay and kick it, and they call each other. They call both of they or all three of their mothers Ema. You know what I'm saying? Like mother and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen it all. I've seen all of the different ones, which is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing. And I also like to say this: no woman you're not a lesser woman because you don't want to be in a multiple wife relationship. Just be honest and upfront with that before you marry the man. Don't marry a man and say, I don't want multiple wives. I don't want you to marry nobody. Don't do that. Because he might say, well, I want to have multiple wives, and now you don't need to be with him. Let me be very clear with that. Do not do that. Be upfront, be real, be 100 when you marry. That's the other thing. But no woman is wrong for not wanting that. If they say no, I don't want that, you did nothing against the law, judgments and statutes of the divine universal forces, Yah Yahuwah Elohim at all. Nothing. You did nothing wrong. And a lot of people, and I say that because there are actual teachers that will teach you that you're wrong for it. Like that's your ego, and you da 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 da, and this and that. They'll tell you that. No, I'm telling you, you didn't. There is no law that says you have to be You have to be in a multiple wife situation. Period. There is no law that says that. And men be upfront. If I like they know, my wife knows. I told her, you know what I'm saying? There's a possibility. that could happen. I told her straight up. She knows. She knew from the beginning. So I want you to be very clear. Be real. Be 100. This is where most problems take place in all households because either the man or the woman lied in the beginning. Yeah, he'll say something like, "Well, I want my children to be like this and that and da 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 da," and they'll be like, "Yeah," but in the back of their head, they're like, "No, I don't want that." Or they can be young, and when they're young, they start changing. This is where I see a lot of things happening too. The man or the woman will change and become somebody else. Now, there's nothing wrong with that if it's positive, but both of them might not move at the same speed. The one that is becoming more conscious must be merciful and must show patience to the other. Right? Now, if it goes too far and they don't change or they don't grow or like they start getting angry and abusive physically or mentally or spiritually or whatever, when they do that, then it could be time for a separation because you might be creating a new reality. But usually, if the person is patient, if they're not trying to force the other individual to grow with them and do this and do that, if they're not forcing is you're gonna break eggs doing that. You got what I'm saying? That's what I did. My children, they were moving with me. You feel what I'm saying? But if everybody in the household is not moving together, if you have to be you can't be breaking egg, you can't be hurting that person. You can't be abusive to them verbally, mentally, or physically, spiritually. None of you cannot do that. You have to be patient and allow them to grow at their speed. It is their health journey, not yours. Even your children, it is their health journey, not yours. And it's our ego that tries to force somebody else to do what it is we want them to do. Even if we think it's good. It doesn't matter. You don't force anybody to do good, and you don't force anyone to do evil. They have to do it because they want to. Exactly. And it's not so much creating an altar. It is kind of, I guess you could say it that way. It is, I guess you could say that. It is. But you have to understand because you were where they were. You were that. That's why y'all came together at that time because you were who they are. Now you have to you have to show the mercy. It's incumbent upon you. They can't even understand what you might understand now. So therefore you have to be merciful. You have to share the information and allow them to walk to where you are. You understand what I'm saying? You got to. So this is these are the realities. Like for real, you got to be real with this. You got to really be real with this. If you're not, then it's gonna break down. And communication. As long as you are honest, I'm gonna tell you something about women that's deep. As long as you are honest with the woman, she's usually gonna roll with you. Usually, it ain't always. That ain't the truth always, but she's usually going to roll with you. Is when you lie to her. That's when she's going to. That's when you're gonna lose the woman. Usually, I don't care what. If you're gonna have another wife, tell her up front. Let her know you're considering it. Let her go. You know what I'm saying? All of that. Do not try to hide that woman from her. Don't try to. I don't mean in the beginning, like you might just be considering a wife or something, but when it gets real, where you know, like this woman is going to be my wife. Like y'all have agreed to it, and they're going down that lane, or you're taking them out and doing this. You need to tell your wife, like you got to talk to her. You got to sit her down and let her know. Like you can't just be doing stuff and now she find out from somebody else. That's over. That's you gonna kill it. All she all she wants you to do is be a man. A man will sit his wife down and talk with her and commune with her and have discussions and meetings and so forth. That's a man. A woman, I mean a boy will not. He will run and hide and this and that, right? So I'm just letting you know. Like if you're gonna do it, do it. You got to do that right. As a man, you got to, because you that's what it takes to have more than one. You got to be a man. You understand what I'm saying? You got to be sensitive. You have to have all the character. You got to be not American man, not a testosterone crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like macho man. No, that's not a man. I'm talking about you have to be a man, well rounded, before you can even entertain that. That's not an ego. You cannot do it out of ego. I'm telling you, ego. If you do it out of ego, it's over. You're gonna destroy it. Got to be done right. Hmm. Yeah, I understand. Yep, but you can't worry about that. You got to do what you got to do. You got to be. You got to be. You got to become, and you got to be. You got to become. That's just reality. You can't fear nothing. That's why it says fear Elohim. Don't fear man. Yah will set it up perfectly. Remember, I was in a 10-year separation from my wife. 10 years. 10 years. Can you imagine that? And it was this. It was y'all sending me this creation series. Me following these instructions, what I'm sharing with y'all, is what ended that. And me and my wife are back together, and she's happier than ever. I mean, literally, like she's super happy. I called her the other day, man. She sounded so happy and good. I was like, man, she sounds so good. Like I was very like, it's good. This works in many different ways. I didn't even expect it to work on relationships like that. It just did. Like things just happen. Like when you get this, things will start happening. Anything you want will come to pass. I'm telling you. It's deep. It's deep. So with that, does anybody have any questions for me before we close? I've done enough questions. I'm about to jump off. It's 9:17. Woo-wee. I do take my time through this though. You guys like the recap? Prayerfully, you got a lot out of it. You know, but I'm just telling you words of wisdom from things that I've been through and things that you know I've seen. So yeah. All right. So with that, I appreciate everybody's time. See you all at the top of your health journey. Peace. Yeah, it's not letting me do anything. I don't even know if I can close this stream. The hard way. Let me see if this is working yet. Hope it's still not letting me close it. Man, it got stuck. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna have to do this the hard way. You can watch the replay of this on YouTube for the weekend, or even on Patreon for the weekend. After that, it'll be on Patreon only in the creation series. So you have to have the two versions.